Hi, this is Sarah.
And this is Rachel.
And this is the Diaries, a podcast where we rip apart, episode by episode, the Vampire Diaries. Warning, this is a rewatch podcast. We always bring up spoilers because we're always going to talk about how things relate to future things.
Definitely. And in this episode, we're talking about Season 2, Episode 15, The Dinner Party. Mm-hmm. I almost forgot.
Yeah.
It's very similar to the next episode, which is The House Guest. So I've been, in my head, I've been trying so hard to keep them straight. But this one is The Dinner Party. Yeah. I'm 95% sure.
Yes. Yes, because this is the thing with the titular, there is a dinner party. That is the event. We love when the event is the name of the episode. It usually is easier to remember.
Usually. Not
in this case for some reason because of the house guest. But either way.
The dinner party is pretty brief.
Yes, the dinner party is a brief part of this episode. And there's a lot of build up to the dinner party. So kicking off, we pick up the next morning after the last episode, but kind of in the same idea, which is at the end of the last one, Damon, of course, had advised Stefan and Elena to stay at the lake house to try to lay low and, keep away from all of the drama that happened in the last one. So we see Elena is at the lake house. She's reading one of the Jonathan Gilbert journals that they found. And, again, pretty much picking up where we left off with 1864 the last time we saw it. The last we saw of 1864 was Season 2, Episode 20, I think it was the last flashback we got, and it was, of course, the vampires going in the tomb. And this is kind of picking up right after that with the founding families talking about how the vampires are now all in the tomb, all should be safe. And we hear Jonathan Gilbert, 1864 Jonathan Gilbert is narrating this, talking about how they thought they were safe, the vampires of the night they died in the Fells Church fire, which I was I forgot that the founding family didn't know about the tomb, that they didn't know that the vampires survived. I was we speculated on that so much. How did we not be oh duh, they didn't know that Emily did that, she just did that.
Yeah, I know, I forgot too. I forgot they thought they were actually just going in there to burn.
Yeah.
I think there's just something that seems like so much of a punishment of them just desiccating in the tomb that I'm that was
feels intentional.
That feels like it was the intended punishment. But
it wasn't. They were
supposed to burn. Yeah.
I don't know why we got mixed up on that, and I'm surprised nobody in the comments called us out for that. But I think that means it's probably a common misconception that we forget that Emily did that, and I don't even remember why exactly. If it was because of her deal with Catherine, because she still got Catherine out anyway.
I know. Yeah, that's the other thing. It also just seems like it was so pointless because Catherine was never even in there anyway.
Yeah.
It wasn't the point to save Catherine by putting her in the tomb.
Yeah, so the whole tomb thing is weird. But of course, they don't know about this. Jonathan's just saying that all the vampires did die in the Fells Church fire.
Yep.
We know they didn't. But Jonathan continues to narrate that, they killed those, the creatures, but those creatures created more monsters. And we see in the house, he's there with Honoria and Thomas Fell. Little callback to season 1, episode 4, when they're reading names on the list of the original founders. But anyway, they kind of hear something outside. They're all scared still about the vampires, and they all end up going outside to check on the noise. And Jonathan ends up using his compass. He's I'll prove there's no vampires. And of course it starts whizzing around, and clearly there are still vampires. And so Jonathan's trying to follow the compass, and Thomas gets grabbed and killed, and then Honoria runs out for some reason and gets grabbed and killed. And then Jonathan says, he's narrating that he gets a good look at the vampire that does kill him right here. And it is, of course, Stefan Salvatore.
Love that.
Classic. So, love Elena just having to read all of this. What a way to find out your boyfriend murdered your great-great-grandfather or whatever.
Yeah, because I don't think she really knows about the Ripper face, because that's the whole plot of this episode is he's kind of Stefan is telling Elena about being a Ripper, basically.
I know. I feel we talked a lot about this in season 1, where it's you get the hints of it, obviously, he has the blood issues,
Miss
but
Mystic.
She really never gets, I think, how bad it was for him and how many people he's really killed, and this episode dives into that. The start, not a lot, but it starts to. So we'll get a lot more of that later. But for now, modern day, Stefan's out on the dock. He's on the phone with Damon, and they're sharing updates. Tyler ran away from home.
Also, Stefan asks Damon how he knew that, and Damon is well, Carol told Liz, who told me, and I just love that little train of gossip.
He's in the girl town gossip, it's so funny. But they say now that means their werewolf problem is resolved, because obviously Tyler was the last remaining werewolf with Jules, but he left presumably with Jules. And so now they can focus on trying to kill Elijah. That can be the new focus. And Stefan basically tells Damon, like, to be careful, like, actually have a plan before you do anything. So they hang up because Damon's like, yeah, I'm careful now, whatever. Yeah. So they hang up and Stefan starts to head back to the house where, of course, Elena's inside reading away.
Yep. Yeah, we'll leave that there for now. And then we see Jenna and Elijah walking around. We find out it's like the old Fell property, but they're just walking around outside. And Elijah is talking to Jenna. They're basically just like doing Elijah's project.
Yeah.
And he's telling Jenna that like the founding families never actually founded anything. And
we been new.
Yeah, of course. We all know. Any rewatcher knows. But also, we all knew that these families that apparently got there in like the 1800s.
Yeah. We just discovered this land in 1860. Yeah. No one's been here before.
Yeah. Old news, Elijah. But anyway, he's telling Jenna about the founding families and how they didn't found anything. And Jenna says she bets that it was men who made a big deal out of it about it being the founding families. Mm-hmm. And Elijah agrees that men are very territorial. And right as they say that, Alaric shows up. Clearly, because he's territorial also. He's so jealous.
Elijah basically delivers it at Alaric. Like, he's basically staring at Alaric when he says it. It's so pointed that I'm surprised Jenna doesn't, like, react a little bit more to that.
Yeah.
But it's funny.
She does kind of have a little reaction to it. So Alaric shows up and walks over to them. And Jenna introduces Alaric to Elijah as a friend. She's this is my friend Elijah, or Alaric.
Yeah, I was like, I can't believe she's friend zoning him right now in front of Elijah.
Okay, but honestly, if I was there with Elijah and Alaric shows up, I'd be like, I barely know him.
Yeah, be like
an acquaintance.
Yeah, I'm like really single right now. So single.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I get it. I see what she was doing there, and I respect it. Yeah, I respect it. She would be my friend. I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they have that little awkward introduction, and then Alaric says he's joining because he's a history buff, and then Elijah says, they're going to the freed slave property, and that like the descendants of slaves are the true keepers of history, and they are trying to like learn more about the land related to that. So Jenna goes to get some sort of like land survey from her car. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
We don't need to know. Not relevant. And as Jenna goes away to the car, basically Elijah is like, they kind of agree, like, Alaric is safe. Elena is his loved one, so he won't kill him. But Elijah tells him not to be jealous. And he tries to, like, joke with him, like, I don't pursue younger women, Rick. Which I love that he calls him Rick also.
Yeah, so casual.
Yeah,
friendly.
So casual. But yeah, Elijah's just, like, joking with him, and he just clearly has the upper hand here and is like, I don't have time for this. Like, you're being an idiot.
Yeah, because the other thing I wonder if Alaric caught, because I definitely did, was when Jenna, like, went to go get her stuff from her car, she, like, puts her hand, like, on Elijah's, like, arm before she walks in. I was like,
I didn't notice
so
that. That's
cozy,
good.
so comfy.
Okay, they actually have amazing chemistry. I was thinking this whole time, I'm like, I wish they had done a little something more there.
Yeah. But there's definitely, I mean, me with Elijah, with everyone, I'm like, he has so much charisma.
Infinite. Yeah.
Like, put him against, like, a brick wall. And I'd be like, I'm
like, sad. I ship it. Yeah.
So, yeah, they could have built on that more. But anyway, it's a good setup here that, like, Alaric is worried about Jenna.
Yeah, a jealous freak.
A jealous freak. Yeah, he's trying to protect Jenna. He's worried. And especially in relation to Elijah. But Elijah's just kind of like, she's good. She's on Elena's list. I know. Yeah. Like, don't be so jealous. So that kind of will continue throughout this episode.
Yep.
Another thing that's going to continue throughout this episode is a couple things in the next scene in the grill. Yep. Bonnie is sitting alone when Jeremy joins her, and he invites her over tonight to practice some spells, try to get stronger.
Oh my God.
No ulterior motive there, obviously.
No,
just spells,
of course
just
not.
Spells. And Luca comes over, interrupting their little moment that they're having, and he confronts Bonnie about what happened last night. But Bonnie is, like, pretty tough. Like, she just is, like, flat out, no reaction, lying in Luca's face, being like, we played some pool. Like, what are you talking about? Like, just, like, point blank lying at him.
Yeah.
Like, no shame, too. I was like, Bonnie's a little wild for that. Yeah.
I know. Like, she, like, it says, like, you went to the bathroom or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or Lucas says, like, I woke up in the bathroom. I think that's where they left him.
Yeah.
And yeah, Bonnie's just so devious about it. I'm like, he's got to know something's up. I don't really know if it's worth lying to him.
Yeah.
Especially because of the way this all turns out. It's like, maybe she could have prevented some of the fallout if she had just been like, listen, I had to get some info from you.
I know. It almost would have like played a little better because like Luca does not react well to the lying. Like he starts getting like pretty intense. He gets really angry to the point where Jeremy like immediately like jumps up and starts defending Bonnie and like pushes like Luca away. Like it gets a little like there could be a fight here in a second.
Yeah, it's a little heated.
Yeah, it definitely is. But it ends there. Like Luca does end up like leaving and the scene ends, but it's definitely like a little tense for a moment.
Yeah.
Still some tension from last night. We've got Stefan and Elena back at the lake house. You know, Stefan gets inside. It's still very awkward from the fight last night about like Elena being a martyr. And Elena asks like, "Are you still mad?" And he's like, "Yeah." Like, nothing got resolved there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And it's so funny. She's like, "We have a difference of opinion. We're not going to agree." And he's like, that is the understatement of a century. You want to try to die for Klaus. Like, difference of opinion. What are you talking about?
I know. I was like, difference of opinion. What is going on?
She's crazy.
She's wild. I
get like what she's trying to say, where like she thinks it's okay to sacrifice herself for them and he doesn't. But I'm like, girl, that is a much more serious consequence than a difference in opinion. That is a difference in, I don't know, the value of your life. Like,
very big difference. Yeah, one values it, one doesn't. Yeah, very big difference.
So I think they kind of realize like this is not a positive conversation. So they turn to talk about the journal instead. And Elena says that like there's just so much information in the Gilbert journals, like things that John kept from the founding family, things that nobody knows, things that Stefan never told Elena.
Yes.
And I like that Stefan like doesn't turn away from this. He like looks at the journal, realizes like what she's reading.
Yeah, she realizes she's reading his life story about how he went on like a revenge tour.
Yeah, rampage and killed like her ancestors and other people in the town.
Yeah. But he doesn't shy away. You're right.
He doesn't shy away, and he like looks at the horrors of the journal and is like, he sits down and he's like, you should hear this from me. Like, you know, if you're gonna hear it, like he doesn't try to be like, don't read this and like cover it up and run away with it. Although, like, he's like, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Although he does say a few things that I think are funny. First, he's like, you know, we were angry at the founding families and we wanted revenge. We see in the flashbacks in this very episode that Damon never was part of it. So who's we? Yeah, it's like, you, Stefan.
Damon probably was also like angry and maybe he wanted revenge, but yeah, it's like not shown in the same way. Stefan is literally going on a killer rampage. Damon is just like, we need to go in hiding. Like,
yeah,
the context here is very different.
Yeah, and then the other thing is Stefan basically is like, I didn't know about John's ring back then, so I didn't know he'd survive and write this all down.
It's so funny. It's like, I thought I'd get away with it.
Yeah, basically. So, like, at least he embraces it now, but he definitely is like, I thought I would just get away with it.
Yeah. But, again, good on Stefan because he leans into it and tells things that even John wouldn't know. Because he sends us into an 1864 flashback where, like, you see Stefan having basically the 1864 version of Damon's Tridelt party where it's just, like, him and a bunch of girls.
Piano music. Yeah,
piano music. And, like, he's making women beg to be killed next. Like, he's like, who wants to die? And they're like, me.
I love Stefan as a villain. He's funny.
He's so good when he's unhinged.
Yeah.
And it is really our first like really early sight at like Ripper Stefan because I don't think like in season 1 like we got a sense of it, but we really never saw him like on killer like rampages like we know he's capable of, and this is the first time you really see it, like just killing parties of girls.
Yeah.
So in 1864, Damon comes in and he's horrified seeing like all these dead women and these women who are about to die.
Yep.
And he thinks that Stefan is like mad to be doing this when the town is still like hunting for them, could still be looking for vampires. And Stefan's like, don't worry, like I'm gonna kill all the founding like family. They won't get us.
Yeah, again, proving my point. Yeah. Damon was never part of this. Stefan was just like, I'm gonna kill them all and it'll be fine.
He's like, don't worry, they won't get us. They're all gonna die.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good job, Stefan. Good plan. But really, like, how the tables have turned. Like, this is so flip-flop from, like, the modern version of Damon and Stefan. Obviously, like I just said, it's so reminiscent of Damon's, like, Tridelt party in season 1, where, like, you know, Stefan is being this really destructive person and, like, killing people, and Damon is this one trying to clean up the mess, and, like, he starts compelling the girls to leave and, like, saving people. It's, like, very flip-flopped of modern Stefan and Damon. So, so Damon compels, like, the women to leave, and he's saying that he's gonna leave town, that he's done with Stefan, like he can't be like there anymore, and he like tries to like walk away, and Stefan rushes to like stop him, And, you know, he says that, like, he knows Damon promised him an eternity of misery, but, like, he clearly just wants to be with his brother. Like, he wants Damon to stay anyway.
Yeah.
Which is so, like, sad.
I know.
So cute.
He's like, I promise I'll be better. Like, please just give me a chance. And Damon just, like, sort of, like, Stefan has kind of stepped in front of him to stop him from leaving. Mm-hmm. And Damon just sort of shoves Stefan away and leaves. It's very sad.
Yeah, it's definitely sad of seeing, like, the one person Stefan, like, wants a connection with just, like, pushing him away because of his behavior. And so then we see, like, modern, you know, narrator Stefan reacting to this and, like, saying that he, like, had to turn off his emotions to, like, be like this. And Elena's like, it sounds like you were Damon. Mm-hmm. And Stefan's like, I was worse than Damon.
Yeah,
like,
very much worse.
Yeah, it's interesting. Which, like we were saying, like, he is very similar to Damon, obviously, in these sorts of scenes. But, like, we know where it goes and that he does end up being a lot worse. Yeah, so I don't know. It's interesting also to have, like, Elena being directly hearing this. I feel like it's putting a lot of stuff in context for her to hear these kinds of things. That Stefan's not this, like, perfect, well-controlled, you know, animal blood-eating vampire that she really sees him as.
Yeah, exactly. And it plays a big part in, like, Elena coming around and sort of changing her perspective on being a martyr, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But yeah, his honesty definitely goes a long way.
It does.
But having a little bit more fun than Stefan revealing his Ripper past, Damon, Andie, and Alaric are all at the grill. They're just casually hanging out, eating. Yeah. Cute. And Damon asks Alaric, you know, if he got anything out of Elijah when he, like, crashed Elijah and Jenna's walk. And Alaric says no, but he was like, it was boring.
Yeah, he goes, it was boring. I was, like, dying. I was like, says the history teacher. Come on.
Like, but Jenna, and then he says, but Jenna thinks he's very charming.
Yeah.
Clearly a little bit jealous, a little bit, like,
which
worried.
Damon says. He's like, you sound jealous.
Yeah. And then, he also, I love, this is where I start to really like Damon and Andie's dynamic. Damon, like, turns to Andie and is like, doesn't he sound kind of, like, jealous? Like, he sort of says it like he's asking for Andie's opinion. Yeah. And Andie's like, yeah, I agree. Like, she does agree.
Yeah, he sounds jealous.
Yeah. And Alaric starts to say, like, you know, maybe we shouldn't talk about this here, and, like, sort of nods to Andie because obviously, you know, getting into Elijah is risky.
Yeah.
But Damon tells her, like, she's been compelled to not divulge any of my secrets, and, you know, she's just willing to go along with this. She knows everything.
Yeah, he's like, she's fine.
Yeah, he's like, we're cool. And they kiss. Damon and Andie kiss. And Alaric is like, oh my God, this is too weird.
Yeah, he's making such a face, which it's interesting because if you, like, come at it from, like, the compulsion angle, like, yeah, it is really weird and wrong that Damon is, like, kind of treating her like a puppet to, like, be okay with this stuff.
Yeah.
But on the other end of things, at least Damon is actually being completely honest and open with his girlfriend. No wonder Alaric is a little uncomfortable. It's a thing he doesn't understand.
Yeah, he does not understand honesty. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so right when they're, like, Alaric's having his little disgusted moment, Elijah and Jenna walk in. Love that they're still together.
Yeah, they're such a duo.
Yeah, they have such good chemistry. They kept it going. And Damon says immediately, there's Jenna and her new boyfriend.
Yeah. Just digging in on the joke.
And Damon sort of, like, waves them over. Mm-hmm. And Elijah and Jenna walk up to their table. And Alaric tries to leave. He's like, I gotta go grade papers.
Yeah. He's being so weird.
He's being so weird, so uncomfortable. But before he can leave, Andie suggests that they, like, keep this going. Because they talk a little bit more. And Andie suggests they keep it going by having a dinner party.
Love her.
Love her. She gets it. And Damon is like, that's a great idea.
Yeah, he's like, my girl with the good ideas. Like, I'll host.
Yeah, he offers to host. And Alaric tries to be like, well, I might be busy. But then Jenna agrees to go. And then Elijah also agrees. So clearly Alaric's
pretty stuck.
Yeah, clearly he's coming.
Yeah, and they're going to do it tonight.
The plan is tonight.
No getting out of it now. They're all having this dinner party tonight at Damon's house.
Yes. Also not getting out of it. I had to cut you off because I had a good one.
Okay, so the segue is
not getting out of it. Catherine is still in this tomb. She's fully desiccated. And Damon arrives and sort of, like, has, like, a bottle of blood. He's, like, waving it to her and he puts it to her mouth and gives her a little drink, and he goes, like, good girl, which I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. I had to pause for a second.
Yeah.
But anyway, she, like, sort of comes back to life and is drinking the bottle and finishes it, and Damon is like, I didn't have time to go fully shopping, but I brought you a few things, and he has a few things on a hanger, which I was like, finally. She's been here for months in her little outfit.
Yeah.
And he hangs a couple things on, like, the iron fence that's in there.
Yeah.
And Damon is telling her that John is back in town. And Catherine, of course, we know she knows. But she asks why John would be back in town. And Damon tells her that he says he's back to protect his daughter. And, of course, Catherine is just kind of like writing it off. She's like, oh, touching. And Damon also tells her that John told him how to kill an original. Mm-hmm. And she says, you know, like, do you want me to tell you it's true? Because even if I knew, I wouldn't. Mm-hmm. And because if Elijah dies, then she'll be compelled to stay in the tomb forever.
Yeah. So obviously she doesn't want Elijah dead.
Yeah, exactly. So she doesn't want Elijah dead. And Damon's like, sucks for you. And Catherine tells him, very rightfully so, she's like, it would be a suicide mission, which more than he knows at this point. But yeah, she points that out and basically tells him not to do it. And Damon says, even if I have a little dagger and some white oak ash. And brilliant. She's just like kind of like doesn't say anything and turns and looks. And she sort of seems like shocked. And she just reiterates like, if you kill Elijah, I will be stuck in here forever. That's kind of all she says.
She's kind of like, it seems like more begging at this point to be like, don't do it.
Exactly, yeah.
And she says like, you know, get her out first and she will help with Elijah.
Yes.
She will protect Elena. She will do anything that Damon wants if he gets her out of the tomb. Like, just don't kill Elijah.
Yeah. Which should have been his first clue because Catherine doesn't beg for anything.
Yeah. So that should have been a big indicator, but it's not. Damon doesn't believe her, and he's like, so I'm gonna kill Elijah tonight.
Yeah.
Guess who's coming to dinner?
Yeah, the guess who's coming to dinner. I like that little line.
Yeah. But as rewatchers, we know Catherine knows how to play the game. She really does. That girl knows what she's doing all the time.
She gets it.
We'll come back around to that at the end.
Yeah. We'll see. We won't see her again for a little bit, but yeah. Still at the lake house, still like going through all these journals, having their little like romantic getaway, whatever. Stefan and Elena.
Romantic getaway.
Well, it's taken a turn, unfortunately. It started out as a romantic getaway, and now not so much. Mm-hmm. But a little nice gesture. Stefan brings Elena like a mug of tea, and Elena is asking how he never got caught. And Stefan says, you know, like there was a war going on. And the thing about war is there's an endless blood supply.
Yeah, anonymous blood supply.
Yeah. And then we sort of go back into a flashback where Stefan is feeding on like dead or nearly dead bodies.
Yes, like soldiers, like Indian soldiers. Which is really weird. A little really morally questionable, Stefan.
Yeah, very morally questionable, very dark. And yeah, they're in like the medical tent. And Stefan's feeding on all these bodies, and he sees like a hooded woman like go sort of into the woods, like away from the tent, and he follows her and pounces on her, and she turns and is like, calls him an idiot, and we see it's Lexi.
Yeah, and he narrates Alexia Branson.
Yeah, I love that. I love that she had like a little like 1864 name, and it wasn't just Lexi.
Yeah, Lexi's so not like born 1500 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so in present day, we see Elena asking like Lexi as in your best friend. And she asks what Lexi was doing in Mystic Falls. And Stefan says she thought it was a good place for vampires.
Yeah, she didn't know. Everyone died.
She got here a little bit too late. And then we go back into the flashback and we see Stefan bringing Lexi home. Mm-hmm. And offering her a place to stay. She just arrived in Mystic Falls.
Yeah.
And she comes into the house and she says, I guess beggars can't be choosers. And she sees, as she's saying this, dead girls everywhere.
Yeah. The dead tridelts.
Yeah, dead tridelts. Whatever the 1864 tridelt was. Yeah. All of them are there. And she's like, or should they? Like, should beggars be choosers? Yeah.
Yeah. Not a good
Not
scenario.
looking good.
And Stefan's like, I meant to clean this up. Sorry.
Yeah. He's clearly like, he's so checked out. He's fully in his Ripper phase, which Lexi says. Lexi is like the first one to coin that. She says there are good parts and bad parts of being a vampire. You're the bad parts. Like, we're gonna have to change that.
Yeah. She's the first one that drops Ripper in the scene because she says when she sees all the bodies, she's like, oh my god, you're a Ripper.
Yeah.
Which is the first time we hear it.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the Ripper Diaries, we love the Ripper shout outs.
Yeah, I forgot we hadn't heard it yet.
No, this was the first time. Because like we said, like we haven't really seen Stefan in like the Ripper era really yet. This is kind of the first glimpse of it. So of course it's the first time we get the name. And I love that it comes from Lexi. Like,
I know.
So it makes sense.
It feels good, yeah.
And so yes, so that is where we're at with Stefan and Lexi have met.
Yeah, and then in the present, you know, Elena asks Stefan if he's okay. And Stefan says talking about Lexi obviously brings up a lot for him.
Yeah.
So we see that he's kind of like...
It's hard to talk about.
It's hard to talk about. Yeah. So they're having a tough time up there at the lake house, but also having a tough time. The girls girling back at the Salvatore house. Jenna and Andie are getting ready for the dinner party. They're just like in the kitchen or whatever. And Andie asks Jenna about her and Alaric. Obviously, they're besties. They're gonna gossip about the guys. And Jenna tells her basically that John told her or insinuated that Alaric is a liar.
Yeah.
And Andie is like, oh, well, sort of like what you were saying earlier. She's like, well, that's the problem. Like, you need to be able to trust Alaric. Like, Damon tells me everything. That's why we're so good together. Something along those lines. Which I'm like, she's right, but she's not. It's just, I don't know. It's
like, girl
funny.
has no clue. Like, the trust is the one good thing going on in the relationship, but the manipulating and forcing you to be okay with it is more so the problem.
So not great there. But, so then the girls are girling. They're talking about the boys. And Damon and Alaric are in the library. And Alaric is sort of telling Damon, like, this is a bad idea to have this dinner party. Because Alaric doesn't even know, like, what's going to go down. And Damon says, like, there's no such thing as a bad plan, just a poorly executed good plan.
Yeah.
And that this is just like a fact-finding mission. They're just gonna...
Just fact-finding,
They're just gonna...
No drama.
Damon's just trying to figure out what's going on. Alaric is, like, very skeptical about having this whole... Just having Elijah over, because he doesn't even know, like, Damon is planning to kill Elijah.
Yeah.
So Alaric makes Damon promise no sneak attacks, no, like, vampire things while Jenna's in the house. And Damon is like, yeah, of course. Like, Scouts
honor.
Scouts honor. He's sick.
Yeah, this is what I was saying in episode 12, where I was like, Damon's word means literally nothing. He is a liar.
Very much the opposite of Elijah.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah, he has no code of honor or truth or whatever. He's just like, I'll say whatever's going to be the quickest, easiest way to get around something.
Yes.
So Andie comes in saying, like, that Jenna needs help in the kitchen from Alaric, which I also have to point out while we're looking at Alaric, that this man, I don't know what it is. It's like the whole episode. He looks like he's wearing, like, eyeliner or black mascara. Like, his eyes are like, I noticed it earlier, but this scene I was like, I have to say something, and I took a screenshot to show you, and I don't know if you can really see, but I feel like he literally looks like he has on like eyeliner. Yeah, like, why is it so dark? Like, just rewatch the episode and stare at like Alaric's eyes the whole time, because I was like, that is eyeliner. My man is fully like decked out in eyeliner. I was like, this is not. Why did they do that? They never do that. Maybe it's the Klaus thing where they're like, we're trying to build up that he's like about to be like dark Alaric. But wouldn't you only do it during the Klaus bit? I don't know.
I would think so.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it was so noticeable to me. I was staring at it the whole time.
I see it in the screenshot.
So anyway, Alaric leaves, and then Damon is left with Andie, and he like goes to his little whatever and starts pulling out the dagger and dipping it in the white oak ash, like getting all prepared. Again, liar. Like, he literally turned from that conversation and immediately started prepping the plans to kill Elijah. And, Andie's like, what is that? And he says, it's dessert. It's like, Damon, man, you were just like, no honor. Nope, nothing. Speaking of no honor, though, the doorbell rings, and Jenna goes to answer, and it is, of course, Uncle John. He has arrived.
Yeah. I forgot I forgot myself for a second. I thought it was going to be Elijah. So that was my natural reaction. God damn
it, it was Uncle John. Which is basically Damon's reaction. He goes, John, surprise, leave. Yeah. Like, get out of here. What are you doing here? But John refuses. He says, like, he heard Jenna was going to a dinner for Elijah, and so he couldn't miss out. And so, he couldn't miss out on the fun and games, is what he says, which I feels like it is a little bit of, like, an acknowledgement that, I don't know, like, it's not just a dinner party. Like, if Damon's holding a dinner party for Elijah, clearly he has a plan. Yeah. Which Alaric, I think, kind of recognizes that's what he's saying. And Alaric is like, no games. No games. None. Nothing's happening. So Elijah then does actually arrive, finally. Thank God. Guest of honor. And he immediately gives Damon a warning to reconsider any, like, less than honorable plans for the night. Elijah says that if Damon makes a move against him, he will kill Damon and everyone else in the house. Like, you know, like, he immediately, right off the bat, was like, nothing funny is happening tonight.
Don't even think about it. Yeah.
Damon's like, I just want to get to know you. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. But, like, before Damon can really even say anything, Elijah sees Jenna sort of, like, come toward the doorway. And he just walks right in past Damon and is like, Jenna, wonderful to see you again. How are you? So good. Yeah, you look incredible. Yeah.
I love them.
Girl, dump Alaric. Leave him right now.
Yeah, he was so happy. Like, he seemed genuinely happy to see her.
Yeah.
So
it was so good. It was so charismatic, but so genuine, too.
Yeah.
Love him.
This brings us to the official titular part of the episode, the dinner party. We see Damon, Andie, Elijah, Jenna, John, and Alaric all sitting around a table together. What a group. What a group.
I kind of love it, though.
I do kind of love it. It's nice when we get, like, these adult, quote-unquote, stories rather than the teenager stuff. Because I think we complain a lot about, like, the teenagers pretending that they're adults, which is weird. Yeah. And I do like the teenager episodes. The next one's very, like, teenager-y, you know?
Very.
But I like sort of, like, adult dinner party vibes, too.
Me too, nice. Yeah.
And, you know, fits the theme, too, of this one of, like, Elijah and, like, the stuff that they're actually doing and, like, kind of trying to get the episode, too, which is, of course, they start talking about, you know, Jenna mentions, like, oh, Damon, like, your family isn't actually founding family according to Elijah. And, you know, this segues into the witches and Elijah telling the story about how the witches were all rounded up and tied to a stake and burned together in a field, which is just an insane story that all of these people this was done to. But yes, so he tells this whole story about how this was the thing that happened. And I feel like Elijah's kind of revealing, like, too many facts here to too many people. Like, Jenna sort of, like, teed him up for it, but he, like, kind of willingly admits this information on his own. Yeah. And I do definitely think, like, it was mostly made as a decision because the audience, like, we need to know these things. Yeah. And so, like, Elijah just needs some venue to, like, tell them, like, and also it needs to happen in order to move the plot forward because Damon definitely also notices this and asks why Elijah might want to know the location of where these, like, witches were buried, you know, like, it definitely gets the plot moving that Damon now is informed that this is what Elijah is looking for. Which I want to correct myself. I incorrectly in the last episode said the locket because I was thinking of the season 1 plot where Damon needs Emily's locket.
Oh, but I didn't even catch it.
Because I was thinking in this one how Damon is the one that puts it together because of Emily, which in my head I associated that with the locket. But it's really that they need John Gilbert's journals to know that it happened in the same place Emily did. Anyway, I just wanted to correct myself retrospectively because that was killing me.
I didn't even clock it. I don't even know what you're talking about, but okay.
Anyway.
Yes, you're good. But so Elijah does definitely reveal his hand. I agree. I think because we need to know and the plot needs to move. And Damon is clearly clocking that in this scene because he asks why he wants to know. And Elijah very cagily is like, a healthy historian's curiosity. Yeah, that's why I want to know. Yeah, so of course. We know there's something more there.
Yeah. Trying to be something more there.
Oh my God, that was good.
At the Gilbert house, Jeremy, all the adults are away, so Jeremy gets to play. He's at the house all to himself. And of course, Bonnie comes over for what is actually probably supposed to be a romantic night because she immediately sees there are candles everywhere. The lights are off. Yeah. And Bonnie realizes, she's like, oh, like, this is a date. Like, you invited me over to practice some spells. And he tries to play it off, but, like, she's like, I can't do this. Like, I haven't told Elena about this. Like, I don't know if she's cool with it. And, like, she's my best friend. I have to tell her. Yeah. And so Jeremy, like, agrees. Like, he's a little resistant where he's like, oh, like, Elena has to know everything that I do or whatever. Yeah. She's my best friend. She has to know. Yeah. So Jeremy agrees, and, you know, they say, like, okay, we'll just hang out, eat some food, work on some spells. It honestly sounds like my ideal date night. Like,
yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah, hang out, eat some food, work on some spells.
Sounds perfect. Yeah.
My dream. So that's where they're at for now. We'll check back in on the date later. Back at the lake house, Elena has, you know, continued to read these journals from John. Must have taken a break from Stefan's storytelling. So she's back at the diaries. Yeah. And she comments that like John was just getting crazier and crazier throughout his stories, which is wild that they're obviously already setting up the Gilbert ring plot.
I know. I thought that when I was watching too. I was like, did they really have this much like knowledge in advance that that's what they were going to do? Because I'm pretty impressed at like how far out we are from that plot. It's basically a full season.
Yeah, we're a full season ahead, 3. But I do genuinely think they're setting it up because they had Alaric die in the last one from the werewolves.
That's true. Yeah, they're giving Alaric way more deaths.
Yeah. Alaric had his second death in the last episode. They had Stefan kill Jonathan Gilbert in this episode in 1864. And then, like, they are talking about how he started to get crazier and crazier throughout his life. So it's like, I don't know if they exactly knew, but they're definitely setting up the pieces perfectly. If they didn't know, they got super lucky somehow. That retrospectively, it works very, very well.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if they knew this, but it's working perfectly. And so, she also mentions that he did a lot of research about the originals. Like later in life, he started to look into the originals, including this thing called the white ash dagger. How convenient. Stefan then has to reveal that the dagger does exist, because Elena's like, I wonder if this is real, like I wonder if we can get this, and Stefan's like, it is, and we have it. John gave it to Damon.
Lies.
Yes.
This show is built on lies.
The show is 1,000% built on lies and secrets. And Elena's reading about the dagger, and she reads out loud that it says that it must be used by humans alone because it would kill any demon that tried to wield it, aka a vampire.
Yeah.
Scientist Stefan immediately snatches up that journal.
He grabs the journal. He's dialing his phone.
He's like, I gotta read this for myself. And he obviously confirms, like, the dagger's gonna kill Damon if he uses it. Obviously, this was John's plan all along. Yeah.
And he says, like, not necessarily to Elena, but for us, he's like, John is trying to get Damon killed.
Yeah. And so then, Stefan is trying to call Damon, but, like, we cut to, like, of course, like, he's too busy to answer. We see Andie is, like, enacting the plan. Like, she is sending the men to go have their drinks in the library like Damon had asked her to do. And so they're going to do that. Jenna and Andie are cleaning up. Lame that Jenna and Andie have to clean up, do the dishes.
Don't love this.
Jenna clearly also agrees that it's lame because she hands like a pile of dishes to John and is like, make yourself useful. And then poor Alaric, he does ask Jenna, like, oh, like, give me something to do, like, make me help. And she's like, we've got it. Like, she doesn't want to be anywhere near him.
We're good.
And then John tells Alaric, like, oh, that might be my fault because I told Jenna that you're lying about your dead wife. So, again, just trying to stir the pot, always.
Yeah, great.
And, like, Alaric is pretty much ready to fight over this. And John says, I've been very clear. I want my ring back. John, this is really all about a ring? Are you kidding
John,
me?
This is the second time you've said it. And the first time was so, like, offhanded.
Yeah.
It was... Like, I don't think you have been that clear.
No, you haven't been that clear. You mentioned it, and it kind of just seems like a thing you wanted, not the motivation for destroying Alaric's life. Like,
Also, why does he want it? I guess it's a family heirloom.
It is his ring. Like, it is.
I guess.
And, like, he gave it to Isabel for her, and she just gave it to her husband. So, like, I don't know. It's fair.
I guess it's fair, but
destroying Alaric's life over it?
Not great.
Fair.
Yeah, not really. Fair. And taking it out on Jenna, like we were saying in the last episode.
He's definitely
like,
just jealous. Alaric has the life he wants. He got to marry Isabel.
Yeah, true.
And he's basically a better father to Elena than John
also
is.
True,
so.
Yeah. That's true. I never really thought about, like, he must be so jealous of Alaric. Like, there must be.
He definitely is. He's so insecure about the fact that Alaric is, like, kind of the family role that, like, John should be. It's, this father figure. Like, at the Mystic episode in the first one, Mystic Falls, whatever, where they take... Alaric takes Jenna and Elena to his Mystic. He's
and they're, like, jogging with Jeremy.
Yeah. Alaric is, for all intents and purposes, the father figure of the family.
That's true.
And I'm sure that makes John jealous. But anyway.
It definitely does.
Alaric's phone rings at this time, and he gets a call, and it's obviously from Stefan, who fills him in on what's going on. So clearly, Stefan got a hold of somebody. He realized Damon is not picking up.
Yeah.
I would have been calling Jenna at that point. I'd be like, can you give the phone to Damon?
Anyone get Damon on the phone, please?
We cut to in the library because, of course, the intensity of, will it be fast enough? Will they get the message to Damon? So we see in the library, Elijah and Damon are just by themselves. And Elijah confirms to Damon that he does need the witch burial ground. Like, he does need to know the location. But he refuses to elaborate on why. He's like, he says to Damon, like, we're close enough. I can tell you, yes, I do need to know it. But then he doesn't elaborate on why.
And he says, not close enough that I would tell you why. Yeah.
And so, like, Damon is getting ready during this conversation. Like, he's prepping the dagger on the side when suddenly Alaric bursts into the room with Andie and saying that they forgot to do dessert. So, like, you know, Alaric obviously got that message from Stefan, was like, yep, Damon's about to do something really stupid. I need to stop him.
Yeah, better literally save his life.
Yeah, and so Elijah, it's so funny, they were, like, having a drink, and so he hands his drink to Damon, who immediately downs it. I was like, I love that. Just hugs Elijah's drink. And obviously, like, he gets left in the room with Alaric, because also Elijah says to Andie, like, Miss Star, and she takes her hand, and they, like, leave the room. It's really cute. Yeah. But then Alaric and Damon get left alone, and he's kind of mad at him, but then Alaric grabs, like, a piece of paper and writes down that using the dagger will kill Damon. Yeah. And so Damon obviously, you know, plan foiled for good reason, for fair reason, but he's still frustrated. So everyone makes it back to the table, except for Jenna, who, like, goes to check on the dessert. She's like, it's taking a little bit longer than I thought. So Andie wants to take this opportunity to interview Elijah, like, to ask some questions, and she asks Alaric to, like, grab her paper for her from her bag or something. Yeah. And the rest of them just start openly talking about, like, Elena and Elena's, like, list of loved ones and whatever.
Because Damon says John's not on it, so you can kill him.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, I also love that John wouldn't be on the list, which he's probably not, but it's
just
He
definitely
funny.
Isn't, yeah.
But also, it's so funny and sad that they're just openly talking about this, because even Elijah knows that Jenna is the only one that's in the dark and doesn't know this, and with her out of the room, the whole party can talk about something that she doesn't know anything about. I'm like, shady.
Yeah, the worst.
Yeah, it feels like a little middle school party where you leave the room and everyone starts talking about you behind your back. I'm like, not good vibes. Yeah. But anyway, this, you know, Elijah threatens them. He says, like, that he's only, like, keeping them alive so that they can protect Elena. And, like, he leaves her in her home and in her life out of, like, a courtesy. And if they become a liability, he will take Elena away and they will just never see her again. So this is all happening while Jenna is gone. Yeah. Alaric, who's been, like, digging around for this notepad or whatever, instead goes for the dagger, and he appears and stabs Elijah through the back, through his chair, which is just crazy.
Through the chair really sends me. I'm like, okay,
yeah, that's
come on.
Extra. But I guess, like, Elijah obviously is so strong, so smart that, like, if he'd gone in front of him at all, Elijah would have stopped him. Yeah. Like, there would have been no getting past him. So Elijah screams out in pain and, like, dies right there. Yeah. Everyone at the table jumps up in shock because literally no one knew he was going to do that. And Alaric pulls the dagger out. He places it on the table. He looks at Damon and he's like, get rid of him before Jenna comes back with dessert. I was like, first of all, so many things to be said here.
First of all, one, wild that Alaric just decided to do this without consulting anyone. Such a gamble that he could even get it through the chair. Like, what? How sharp is this dagger? How strong is Alaric? Yeah. Lots going into that.
So much.
More importantly, hide the body so Jenna doesn't find out. Elijah just screamed out in pain.
In death, yeah.
Yeah, his literal dying scream. And then
Jenna didn't hear that.
She didn't hear it. She's fine.
It's like a cartoon where, like, at the exact same time, she, like, dropped a pan and it made, like, a really loud noise and she didn't hear it.
She's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. And then, we don't really get to see, like, Jenna seeing that Elijah has left. But yeah, what else? What is she gonna think when he's just suddenly gone?
And the chair has a huge hole in it, like, or the whole chair is missing. They just dragged his whole chair out.
Yeah, I imagine them just dragging him on the chair.
Yeah, like, I don't know how this was explained away, literally at all. Also, because Damon would have to leave too. I'm sure John just bounced at that point. Like,
yeah, John was like, "We're good."
I don't know, which they do acknowledge later. But anyway, it's so weird. And okay, the other thing also I want to point out here is like, again, John is there. Assuming John has read those Gilbert journals, why would he not tell them at this point to leave the dagger in? What does it benefit him to let them just take the dagger out? Because obviously his plan was that Damon would do it and die, which didn't happen. But also, like, why would you not be like, leave the dagger in?
Yeah, that's true. John, I never thought about that. Wait, yeah. Maybe he didn't care if Elijah came back and killed all of them. I have no idea.
But that was my thought too.
But it doesn't really make sense though, because Elijah just said he'll take Elena away.
Yeah, if any of them cross him.
John wouldn't want.
Yeah, the only other thought is maybe that, like, he's just so shell-shocked that he's like,
I mean, same.
He forgot what he read in that journal. I don't know. Yeah. I would have kept notes on what the dagger does and how to use it. And especially the fact that you have to leave it in order for it to be effective, but who knows? I don't know. But I was like, this is a little bit of a plot hole where I'm like, why would John not tell them? But also it's John, which makes it believable either way.
It's like, it's like I very much believe it was either a plot hole or
it's just John. Just John being John. Yeah.
Chaotic.
Yeah.
Who knows? But anyway, speaking of these journals, back at the lake house, Elena is like outside on a little balcony, and Stefan comes out to talk to her because she is like obviously upset that, you know, that she didn't know about the killing of Elijah. Like, she just found out, and like, why would they not consult her, tell her they had the dagger, like anything? Yeah. And they sort of argue about, somehow this turns on her. They argue about her sacrificing herself, and Stefan tells her that, you know, he was telling her about the past, like all of these stories about him being a ripper and meeting Lexi, because he also wanted to give up back then, which he sees that's what Elena's doing now, but Lexi wouldn't let him. So Stefan therefore isn't going to let Elena give up.
Yeah. And
this is where we sort of go into another 1864 flashback where Lexi is basically trying to help Stefan turn his humanity back on. And, you know, they're walking through like the medical tent again, and she's telling him, you have to want it back on.
Yeah.
And Stefan is resistant to this, of course.
Yeah, because she's saying, like, first thing you have to let in is, like, pain. You have to let the bad things in first.
Yeah. Yeah, we know as rewatchers, it's not fun to turn the humanity back on.
No, it's terrible. It's really traumatic.
Yeah.
So she she's saying, like, you have to let that pain in, because then that can lead to the good things, which is, like, love. Then you can feel love. Lexi is always so poetic about love. Every single scene, every single episode she has to, like, you know, wax poetry about love.
I know. I do really love that she's built out as like such like this hopeless romantic character, and they are very consistent with that. Like, they are. You keep the humanity on for love. She turned her boyfriend for love. Like, she like gave Elena that speech about feeling epic, like, or that she did because she was feeling epic. Yeah, I just love Lexi's character. This is a good. It feels like they really had her fleshed out, even in this flashback.
Yeah, only her, like, second episode,
just her second little,
and it works for Stefan, you know, like, this is a great, like, moment for him, because she says to him, love, Stefan. That's the point. Everything is intensified when you're a vampire. When we hurt, we really hurt. But when we love, and it just kind of trails off, and it's, like, clear. That's, like, when we love hard, and that's so worth it.
Exactly.
And that definitely resonates with Stefan. And, of course, he tells this to Elena modern day, because that also really resonates, like, with Elena, like, for sure. Like, obviously, she's not turned into a vampire, but fighting for your life is worth it, because you will get to experience love. You will get to experience good things in your life too. And that's what Stefan gets to here, is that, like, I just want you to fight, which is such a fair request.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, Stefan is kind of justified in this, and he leaves it at that. He's like, I just want you to fight for it. Yeah,
it's fair that, like, she is trying to give herself up to save her friends and family. Else. Yeah. But it's also very fair to be like, don't just be a martyr. Don't just throw yourself on a sword just to save everybody else and just not even try.
Yeah, because she's not even trying to keep everyone alive. Elena's just like, okay, I'll die. Everyone else will live. It'll be fine. Yeah,
like, and come on, like, Elijah and Klaus are still going to kill Stefan and Damon, because there's no way they're going to let, like, they're all just going to Romeo and Juliet here. Like, there's no, like, Elena just dying and nobody else happening to die. Like, it's true. She's not seeing past that, though. Yeah. So anyway, so at the Salvatore house, we have Alaric and Damon. They've put Elijah's body in the cellar. And Alaric, like, calls Damon out for lying about, like, saying that there's going to be no violence, which Damon's like, says the person who did all the killing, which is funny. But Alaric says, like, hey, I'm your friend, damn it. I'm your friend, damn it.
I know, I like when he says that.
And you don't have any friends, so no more lying.
He's right,
Yeah, it's such an why can't I say this one? Uncharacteristically sweet moment for them.
Yeah, I love their dynamic. They're very, like, it's like boy friendship. I'm like,
yes, boy friendship.
Tough love. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But Alaric,
I'm your friend, damn it.
Yeah.
So boy-coded.
It is very boy. I do love their friendship. But also, Alaric doesn't feel so good to be lied to, does it?
Surprise.
Yeah. It's almost like it's not great to just be completely left in the dark.
Yeah. Shocker.
When lives are at stake.
Yeah, people on the show are so hypocritical all the time.
Very.
Speaking of our hypocrites,
yes,
but not in this scene. At the lake house, Elena is back to just sitting inside reading the journal. That's all she's been doing all day, fighting with Stefan and then reading the journal and then being told his trauma. What a day.
Yeah.
So she's reading the journal and Stefan comes in and tells her, like, Elijah is dead. And Alaric did it. So Damon's okay. And Elena is like reading the journal and she's like, well, you know, as long as the dagger stays in place, the original is for all intents and purposes dead. Yeah. So Elena just casually dropping like the most important part of this information. Stefan obviously immediately realizes like, oh my God, those bozos wouldn't have realized to leave the dagger in.
I wouldn't. Yeah, no, I feel like it's very normal to just be like, yeah, okay, I'll take this out.
So you can use it again.
Yeah.
So of course he's scrambling. He rushes to his phone and, you know, he calls Damon and it cuts to immediately like Damon running downstairs to the cellar and he looks and Elijah's gone, like no body there. Yeah. And immediately cuts to Elijah showing up at the Martins' house and, you know, Dr. Martin Jonas answers and Elijah says, I need you to find Elena now. Yeah. So not good. Not looking good.
Not good. Before we get into the fallout from that, I need to say, why would they have not read every single word after the reveal that it can't be wielded by a vampire?
Yeah, they're crazy for that.
Yeah, why would you not have read every word, every detail John Gilbert had?
Yeah, like I know Damon was rushing in because he just kind of assumed he'd never get more info and was like, let me just do it. Let's just see what happens. Which, first of all, bad judgment there. But second of all, as soon as you heard that Elena had this resource that has info about the dagger, about the originals, why wouldn't you be like, let's pause for today, actually, and see what we can do?
Maybe Damon would have, but Alaric just jumped into it. He was just like, I'm gonna do this.
That's true. Alaric kind of went for it.
Yeah.
Which just left them there. And obviously, like, Elijah's so gonna be reactionary about being killed. So, you know, he just jumps into action and things just snowball from there. But it is crazy the way it all falls you know, into place.
Yeah.
But a break from that whole storyline, we cut to the Gilbert house, back to date night, spell night, I should say.
No date, not till Elena knows.
Spell night. Bonnie is teaching Jeremy about siphoning magic, which I think is so cute that he's, like, so interested in the things that she cares about. It's very, like, cute coupley stuff. This one, like, I know some people don't like them together, and I agree because of how it ends, but this is good. Like, he's, like, he wants to know about magic. He wants to understand her. Mm-hmm. And, like, he's, like, oh, well, I'm a living, like, you know, thing. Can't you channel me? And she's like, I guess so. Like, let's try. Yeah. So they decide to see, you know, if, like, she can channel him. And they, like, get really close. And the full, you know, they've got the wood-burning fireplace, all the candles, the lights are off. It's looking really romantic. Mm-hmm. And then suddenly Dr. Martin bursts in the door, storms inside. He uses magic to throw Jeremy up against the wall.
He's gone.
And he gets in Bonnie's face and he's asking, like, what did my son tell you? Like, what did Luca tell you? And he grabs her and he's saying, this is for your own good. And he starts, like, saying a spell. And he lets go, and Bonnie falls to the floor crying. And he says, if any harm comes to my son because of what you did, you will answer to me. And then he just leaves again in, like, the flurry that he burst in. Jeremy finally falls, like, off of the, like, wall. Yeah. And he rushes over to Bonnie, and he holds her, and he's asking if she's okay because she's, like, sobbing. And Bonnie says, he took my powers.
Yeah.
Shocker. What a scene.
Wow. Didn't even know that was a thing, that you could take a witch's powers.
Yeah. I'm sure Bonnie didn't either, but she obviously felt it.
Yeah, no, that was a whirlwind. Which it also makes me think, like, I feel like Jonas is very powerful.
Oh,
like,
he definitely is.
He's definitely a very powerful witch. Taking Bonnie's powers and also, like, the thing he does in the next episode, sending, like, literally, like, Luca's, like, shadow self. I don't know, like...
Which he has to be powerful for Elijah to be using him as, like, a personal witch. Like, you have to be mega powerful for an original to want to, like, tote you around with them.
True. Which
we haven't really gotten to see in this show. We've only seen, like, Bonnie and Graham's. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess that's what, like, makes it so clear is, like, Jonas is the first person we see who's, like, first witch we see that's really next level.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So cut to Elijah is walking up to the lake house. Didn't bring a car, didn't drive. I don't know. Maybe he drove there. Yeah, he ran the whole way there. I don't know. Anyway, classic Elijah. He grabs a handful of rocks. Stefan and Elena are inside, like, listening. They're kind of whispering about him being outside. And I love Elijah uses this handful of rocks. It's like reminiscent of the diner with the coins.
Yep.
And he throws them at the door, and it literally like breaks the door off its hinges and like flies it open, which is insane power we have not seen before.
Yeah, no, I was impressed. When he was picking up the stones, I forgot that he actually ended up using them to break down the door.
I couldn't remember either.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Yeah, I thought it was just supposed to be like a callback and maybe he wasn't going to use them. But yeah, I love that he's able to like take down the whole door with these rocks.
Yeah, just a handful of rocks.
Also, the scene looks so good. I love when he walks up. It's such a good choice to have him walking up. It's very foggy. Yeah. It's just, I don't know, it's very like
moody. Yeah. And it's night now. It's dark out. And so Elena's inside with Stefan, and she's like saying like, I have to go. I need to talk to him alone. I'll stay inside. Like, I'm safe inside. Obviously, Elijah's like right outside the door. He can hear all of this. Yeah. So Elena goes to the doorway where Elijah is like waiting, and he immediately says, the deal is off. Like, oh, this is over.
Yeah. He also says, you can stay inside, but I'll wait you out.
Yeah. And so Elijah says that Elena has nothing left to negotiate with. Like, there is no getting out of this. And so Elena pulls out a knife, clearly revealing, I've got one thing left to negotiate with.
My life.
Yeah, great. And so,
she's crazy.
Yeah, again, taking a page from Catherine's book, saying, like, she starts saying, like, because he's like, oh, well, if you stab yourself, like, Stefan's just going to give you blood and heal you. Like, you're lying. Like, he's not going to let you die. And Elena was like, yeah, and then once he gives me blood, like, I'm going to kill myself and become a vampire, just like Catherine did. So, like, you know, there's no getting out of this. If I'm determined to die, I will be dying.
Yes.
And so Elijah calls her bluff. He's like, sounds good, but, like, don't believe you. Yeah. And I love that he says that. Like, I have to call your bluff is literally what he says. Yeah. And so Elena just goes for it. Like, we've said it before, and I will be saying it again. Elena is, like, so ballsy. Like, she always will go for something.
She is really willing to take the stakes higher. Like,
just the fact she'll stand there and talk to Elijah is like a lot more than a lot of characters can do at this point. So Elena is just crazy. So she stabs herself in the stomach. She fully goes for it. Bleeding out fast. Yep. And Elijah is like screaming, like freaking out, obviously. Yeah. I don't think he even thought she would stab herself.
No, I don't think he thought so either.
And so, you know, he's like, yes, like the deal is back on. He like immediately caves and is like, yes, I'll take your deal. And Elena stumbles out toward him, presumably so that he could heal her. But then the twist is, of course, Elena has the white oak ash dagger, and she stabs Elijah with it, killing him. And Elena is our first, this is Elena's first daggering of an original. Yep. And the first one that really takes, because the Alaric one almost doesn't count. Anyway.
Yeah, the Alaric one barely counts.
Yeah, it doesn't really. Yeah. So they both fall to the ground, Elijah dead, Elena bleeding out. Stefan rushes out to heal her. He gives her some blood. And then the reveal, Damon comes out like he was there the whole time. This was obviously all coordinated, planned, and was supposed to go down a certain way. And clearly worked. Like, I don't know how Elena got the boys to agree to this, because it must have been her plan. Stefan and Damon would never propose
risk her life
that
like
she
this.
should do this. So I'm sure she came up with it, and that she somehow was like, this is the only way this is going to work. Like, the only way we can trick him is me. Like, he would never think I would do this. Yeah. So that's why it's so shocking also as like an audience person, where it's like, you just never would put together that this would have happened.
Well, because also, again, it's sort of like we were saying, like, Elijah just vamp sped over there. Yeah. Damon also just, like, was going 100 on the freeway.
Maybe that's like Damon got there faster, because Elijah was... Well, and he had to go to the Martins first,
yeah, he had to take the pit stop to the Martins.
So, and I'm sure that's what happened, was as soon as they saw Elijah's body was gone, which he had to go to the Martins.
Probably floored it,
Damon, floored it with the dagger to them. Yeah. And however long it took, I'm sure it didn't take Elijah that long. Like, Damon probably got there like a minute before. Yeah. And they probably had to sit on the phone the whole way there and work out this plan. So, like,
I know, I love the idea of them just on this, like, on the phone talking about it.
I'm sure it was very like an intense and quickly put together thing, but it pays off really well. That, like, as much as I would like to kind of see that, I'm glad we didn't, because as an audience, it's so shocking. It's such a good twist.
It is. Yeah, it's so surprising. It works so well. Yeah, but anyway, not working so well. Jenna and Alaric, their relationship's really on the rocks. Yeah. They are both back at the Gilbert house now. They're in the Gilbert house kitchen, and they're talking. Jenna is basically mentioning that everyone disappeared. Yeah. So to our earlier point, I guess they never really explained anything to her.
Yeah, people just
Everyone
left.
was just gone. Because, after Elijah, like, came back to life, Damon must have also just run out. So,
again, I'm sure John
probably bounced.
So
so everyone's just gone, and Alaric doesn't really say anything. He just tries to apologize for how the evening went, and Jenna just isn't really having any of it. She immediately is like, what happened to Isabel?
Yeah.
Clearly, like, what John said to her is weighing on her. She wants to know the truth. Like, she knows she's being lied to, but she doesn't know, like, about what.
Yeah.
I mean, she obviously can't even fathom, like, what's going on at this point.
No, she has no way of speculating.
There's no way she could even sort of get close to guessing this.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, so she knows she's being lied to, and she wants to know the truth. And Alaric, like, does nothing to help himself. He basically just says, like, John shouldn't have told you that. Like, that wasn't really his place to talk to you about that.
He's, like, deflecting. He's, like, he's not even trying to lie necessarily or even give any sense of the truth. He's just like, oh, well, this is all John's fault.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Alaric is just, like, very much in denial. Mm-hmm. And, you know, she rightfully points out, like we were just saying, that is not an answer.
Yeah.
And Alaric kind of just evades the question again. And she says, again, basically, that's not an answer. And she asks him at this point, like, are you being honest with me? Like, can you at least tell me if you're being honest with me?
Yeah.
And he doesn't answer. So she starts to, like, tear up and says that in itself, the fact that you won't even answer me is my answer. Like, you're not being honest with me. And a single tear falls. Very sad. And she leaves. It's very sad.
It is. I feel for Jenna so much in this scene. And I'm glad Alaric didn't, like, double down and lie to her again.
I know.
Be like, I'm not lying.
At least he didn't say, no, I'm being honest.
Which shows, like, that Alaric is... Yeah. I don't know, like, he is good. He has these good intentions, but obviously it's just, like, the circumstances. Like, he can't tell her the truth.
Yeah, which we do get a little more of in the next episode.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in the next one.
Alaric wants to do the right thing.
Yeah. Not wanting to do the right thing. Of course, John has to show up at the end of this and just rub it in.
Yep.
And Alaric just, like, forfeits the ring to John. He just pulls off the ring and hands it to him, and he says, like, after what you did to Damon, you're gonna need it more than me. And he's just like smirking.
Yeah. Alaric gets his little smug moment, thankfully.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my god, yeah, it's the perfect payoff to be like, haha, John, you are dying in the next one.
You're gonna die. Which he does die soon, but
not in the next one, after that. But
Yeah. But yeah, so Alaric and John, he's giving back the ring. They've done away with that. They're good. Back at the Salvatore house, we see Damon and Stefan bringing Elijah's body back to the cellar. Take two.
Had to drive him back from the lake house.
Yep. They took his body back from the lake house. Yeah.
With the dagger still in it.
Yep.
Thank God. And Damon starts searching Elijah's jacket, and he, of course, finds the moonstone.
Love that Elijah just had it on his person.
Yeah, he must have had to go grab it, like, right when he was going to go get Elena. Like, that was my guess, is that maybe that was the other pit stop with John, is like going to grab the moonstone. Yeah. And then going to get Elena, because he was presumably just going to leave town, would be my guess.
Probably.
And so, so he finds the moonstone, and Damon's like, little moonstone bar of soap. Little moonstone bar of soap. Love that. Yeah. He really just, like, first thing that came into his mind, he just went with. Yeah. Love that.
He was like, this is brilliant. I just thought of this. It looks like soap. We're good.
That's what I'm going to do. So we'll see that in the next one.
Yeah.
But Elena, like, you know, they're about to leave, and Elena turns to the boys, and she says, like, you know, you guys want me to fight for my life? Fine. I'm going to fight. But if we're going to do this, like, no more keeping secrets from me. We're going to do this my way. Which I just find so funny. But I'm like, it's fair because it is her life and it's, like, her whatever. But I'm also like, girl, you have the least experience, the least whatever on all of this. So, like,
you were ready to die 2 days ago. You just stabbed yourself in the stomach for this. Like, you are willing to gamble, but...
Yeah. But okay.
Sure.
And they kind of, like, don't really say anything, but I feel like they're like, well, I guess we just have to agree. At least she's willing to live now.
Yeah. Damon sort of, like, promises, but as we know, his word means absolutely nothing. So
nothing. He's just appeasing her like a child. Like,
yeah, he's like, okay, sure.
Yeah. So Elena leaves. She's happy. She walks away.
Yeah.
And Damon and Stefan, like, they turn to each other, and Damon asks Stefan how he, like, got through to her, how he got her to agree to, like, fight for her life. And it's an awkward moment because Stefan's like, well, I told her a story about a time when I lost all hope and, like, someone showed me the way. And Damon correctly guesses Lexi. Stefan's like, yeah, you remember her? Remember how you killed her?
Yeah.
Those are the things left unsaid, but that is the awkward feeling left in the room where it's like, awkward.
Yeah.
It feels interesting that they brought this, like, up, like they brought Lexi back so close to like the Rose storyline.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, like I do feel like Rose could have been Damon's Lexi. So it's so interesting to like have a Lexi moment again, like right after that. And I wonder if Damon feels differently about that because of Rose, because he had that kind of friendship moment very recently.
Yeah, I think he does, and I think that's shown in this next little flashback we get from Damon's perspective.
Yeah.
Where Stefan just kind of walks off after saying, like, remember her? And Damon, you know, is remembering clearly. And he flashes back to when he first met Lexi. He's walking out of the Salvatore house, not this one, the first one before
the 1864 one.
The 1864 Salvatore house. And he's on his way out with his suitcase, and Lexi stops him, and they sort of talk about Stefan and everything. And Damon tells Lexi that he and Stefan are at irreparable odds. Like, he has to leave town because they're never going to get on the same page. Like, Stefan's obviously spiraling. Damon promised him like an eternity of misery. Like, they're clearly
they're not going to fix this right now.
Yeah, it's not going to get fixed. And at this point, Lexi tells him, you know the hate you're feeling towards Stefan. Like, you think you have it under control, but you don't. Like, this is going to come back.
Yeah, it's going to get the best of you.
Exactly.
She says.
Yeah.
And Damon is just kind of quiet to this. He doesn't really react. And he just says, help him. He needs it.
Yeah.
And Lexi says, I'll help him. And then Damon just leaves.
Yeah.
It's such an interesting little scene to have, like, this like moment of Damon, like, leaving Stefan. And I think kind of for the better, but also, like, Lexi acknowledging, like, you have your own problems, and, like, that anger is just going to grow and grow and, like, eat you away. And I do think it's, like, we talked about, where it's, like, we saw how at this time they were kind of, like, the flip-flop of, like, Stefan was this, like, immediate, reckless, kind of crazy one, and Damon was the one trying to keep it together and, like, do the right thing. And obviously over a century, they flip-flopped somewhere in there. And it's, like, I think a big part is, like, Damon's, like, anger and all of his feelings just, like, building up and building up. I mean, look at, like, The Descent when he went and, like, killed the woman after, like, Rose. Yeah. It's, like, he clearly allows his feelings to eat him away at the point where he just, like, self-implodes, self-destructs. Like, that's such a Damon characteristic.
Yeah.
So it's interesting Lexi, like, acknowledges that so bluntly in this scene.
Yeah, which I feel like Rose also acknowledged a lot when they were having their, like, when they had their whole friendship. When Rose's whole arc was about, like, Damon's humanity and everything. So, exactly. Very good, like, parallels between the two of those characters, Yeah,
definitely. Then we get our perfect little last scene. One of the best. I think about the scene all the time.
Oh, my God. It perfect.
Lives in my brain rent-free, for real. Damon goes into his room, and he hears the shower running, and so he calls out, like, Andie, I thought you left. You know, clearly she would be the one showering in his room.
Yep. Who else
But Little Miss Catherine.
Speaking of,
The music is perfect. It literally says, Little Miss Catherine, as it pans to Catherine, the icon, the legend, the star, showering with her full smoky eyeshadow that she's had on for weeks. I was dying. I was like,
I know.
Nina's beautiful. Let's just give her a makeup-free look for once.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's just because it's Catherine.
That's
true. She's so smoky eye.
That's true. It's part of her personality, a way to distinguish from Elena.
Yeah.
But anyway, what a power move to just be in his shower when he gets back. She comes out fully naked and just asks for a robe, like doesn't even acknowledge. And Damon is obviously just shell-shocked. And she reveals that she knew that if she begged Damon not to kill Elijah, that's exactly what he would do. And that killing Elijah, killing any original, will release anyone from their compulsion. That, like, when an original dies, their compulsion ends. And Catherine is like, but I'm still here. Like, I didn't run. I meant what I said, Damon. I am going to help you. Like, I'm here to help. And the scene ends there. What a dramatic last scene that, like, Catherine is out of the tomb. She's staying, and she is going to help. Yep. Presumably. We'll see in the next one
we'll see how
far that really goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect way to end this episode. Yeah. Just iconic.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
Yeah. Nothing else to say about that. Yes, we can just get into the end. For our in memoriam section in this episode, there were actually a lot of deaths, but mostly in the flashbacks.
That's true. It was also 1864.
Yeah. So we have Stefan in the very beginning killing Thomas and Honoria Fell, the founding families, and he then kills John Gilbert, the 1864 Jonathan Gilbert. Yeah. And
even though he was resurrected by his ring.
He was brought back by his ring, but Stefan still killed him. And then we see in the later flashback Stefan kills, I think, at least 3 girls. All the bodies that Lexi sees. I think it looked like 3.
Yeah, it's confusing because he definitely kills one in the earlier scene with Damon.
Yes, yeah.
And then the others are alive. Damon compels some of them. But by the time Lexi gets there, at least 3 bodies are for sure shown. So who knows? Stefan's count is like in the thousands at some point anyway.
Yeah, so it doesn't really matter for Stefan.
It doesn't really matter. But for now, we'll say like 3 random girls.
Yeah.
For women, I should say.
Yeah, I think 3 works. And then we also have Elijah, of course. Do we want to count him being killed by Alaric?
I think we should count it, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Elijah is killed once by Alaric and then by Elena, her first kill.
Yeah, it's kind of like the ring deaths where it's like doesn't really count because they're like just daggerings.
Yeah,
like
they'll come back.
Going to sleep. But I think it's fun to count the daggerings anyway. So Elijah's already at 2 on-screen daggerings.
Yeah.
Like the first episode of the dagger.
And the stake through his heart in the beginning. Yeah. He's died a lot.
That's true.
But never actually died.
Yeah, that's true. Then we've got our out-of-pocket things we would have done differently. For me, it's got to be John Gilbert. It's usually John Gilbert.
Yeah, I just was thinking something about John.
Yeah, it's always John. For me, it was, again, John not telling anybody anything about the dagger. Like, I understand not saying it would kill Damon because he wants Damon to die, but even thinking I don't need to tell them that they need to leave the dagger in, I was like, either I would do this differently as a writer or I would do it differently as John. I don't know, but it's just, that's like the weird thing that sticks out to me.
I think that's a good one. I was also thinking it's got to be something around John and all the chaos he's causing and whatever.
He's just the worst.
But yeah, I kind of like the dagger thing just because, was it a writer I would have done differently or John? Hard to say. But it works either way, so might as well go with it.
Yeah, like we talked about earlier. So John, out of pocket, John, would have done differently.
Of course, always. As for quotes, this wasn't really like a quote heavy, like very good quote episode for me, but I did really like, I don't know, it's like an exchange again. So I don't know if we want to take one of the lines or how we want to do it, but I liked when Lexi and Damon were talking in the 1864 flashback and she tells him like, you know, the hate you're feeling towards Stefan, you think you have it under control, but you don't. It will get the best of you.
Interesting.
But I also like Damon's response, like, help him. He needs it. Aww. I don't know. I like that. I just like their little...
You always like the sentimental
ones. I do. I also really like the Damon-Lexi dynamic. There's just something so interesting there that we never get much of, but I don't know.
I would agree. They have a very interesting dynamic because it's not friends. It's
definitely
not enemies.
No.
It's somewhere weirdly in between.
Yeah.
Kind of sibling-ish where it's just kind of like we're okay with each other, but we don't really get along.
Yeah.
They have a cool vibe.
Yeah.
I always like the comedy. I always like the humorous quotes. And I always like Damon ones too. So I do have 2 Damon ones I want to point out. The first one is, gotta run. I've got a murder to plan. Busy day.
I did like that. Yeah.
And of course, the one we mentioned before, there's no such thing as a bad idea, only a poorly executed awesome one. So Damon of him.
Very Damon, yeah.
And like we also mentioned before, Stefan says to Elena, you've agreed to sacrifice yourself to Klaus. To say that we have a difference of opinion is the understatement of a century. And then I also like Elena's reply, which is, well, you would know. It's like she's real for that.
Yeah.
Just calling him out.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were my nominees. I did debate also nominating something of Lexi's, like her love quotes and stuff, but I was like, I'm just feeling the humor more of this episode. I feel like
it's definitely more of like a humorous episode, I think.
Yeah, silly, goofy mood.
Yeah. Also, we both had some Damon, so I feel like I should go to something from Damon.
Should we do the only poorly executed awesome
I do like that. That one definitely stuck out in my head.
Yeah, that was what we talked about already. So I feel like that was like a good one. So we'll give it to Damon for there's no such thing as a bad idea, only poorly executed awesome ones.
Love that.
On the song spectrum,
oh my gosh,
there were 5 songs used, and I'm sorry, but I literally have to nominate every single one.
They were all of the songs were good. I was like, I wish we could have spread out these amazing, like,
I know,
so many good songs,
like banger after banger after banger, like for real. I literally am gonna call out all 5.
Okay,
so I'll rush through the first 3 pretty quickly because I don't think they're gonna be like winners. But it's just such a great playlist, and this is for the dinner party specifically.
Yeah,
they play Lemon World by The National.
Okay, I also wanted to give that one an honorable mention.
Love The National.
Yeah, Love The National. I also felt like it really fit like the 20-year-olds. Well, not. Yes. I guess only some of them are in their 20s, but like
some of them are in their
the
hundreds.
Dinner party. Yeah, the dinner party vibes. I don't know, like adult vibe.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool music of that era. The
exactly.
National. Then they play Islands by the XX.
Yeah, that one was good too.
Yeah, love this for the dinner parties. So great. We also got a good girl song, I thought. They play When I Grow Old by Pet Lions, which was another one that I was like, yeah, cool girl song. Like, every single song in this episode I was like, love, love. Then another girl song I liked. I'm assuming we're going to have the same winner, so I'm just going to say this one. Yeah, just go for it, yeah. Pumped Up Kicks by Fox to the People, which is the Bonnie and Jeremy scene, which is the perfect, like, this is definitely what we were listening to at the time. It's so, like, age, teenage appropriate. It was also so mainstream. Although I kind of feel like when they're playing it is like pre it getting mainstream. I feel like
it definitely could be. Yeah.
I think they're playing it a bit early. I would have to look at the dates to know, but it feels like this was like an early find of this song.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the music is just killing it.
It's so good. Every song in this, it pains me to have to pick one, but there's such an obvious one.
There's such an obvious winner. Of course, the winner for the best song in this episode has to go to "Happiness Is Overrated" by the Airborne Toxic Event. Little Miss Catherine.
Miss Catherine.
What an iconic choice. Like, how did they even pinpoint that to be like, if we ever have a moment where we really got to call it Catherine, like, let's use this. Like,
I would love to know, like, how they came across that song. Like I said, I want to know everything about the music curation because that is a moment that I think is just, like, it's so good. It's a top 10 moment. Like, even just, like, quick little, like, moment in the show for me.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's one I think about all the time.
Iconic.
And I feel like they must have had it bookmarked because they've played songs from that album specifically in the first season. Like, Airborne Toxic Event is one that has come up a couple times.
Yes.
I think at various parties in, like, season 1. So I have to imagine that they had heard the Little Miss Catherine and were like,
I think
let's keep that on the books. Yeah. Like, let's keep that for a moment when we need a Catherine moment.
Yeah.
And this was, like, such a perfect
incredible
one. Coming out of the shower, the rock and roll, the reveal, like, everything about it fits perfectly.
Yeah.
It's just so effortless.
Yeah. So it has to be. Happiness Is Overrated. Love that.
Love it.
Yeah.
So we'll be adding that song to our Song of the Episode playlist where we have all of the winners of best songs. You can go listen to all of those. That's linked in our various bios and descriptions. We also have our TikTok and our Instagram there where you can go watch clips from the podcast, interact with different polls and stories and things, share your thoughts. We always love talking to people there.
And you can listen to the podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or you can watch the video version if you're into that on YouTube. So join us next week for season 2, episode 16, The House Guest. This is the house guest.
Get a little mixed up.
Yeah, this is the episode where Catherine's out of the tomb, so she's the Salvatore's little unwanted house guest.
Yeah, and now that they've got Elijah out of the way, they've really got to get like moving on trying to find the burial ground or the witch burning ground, whatever it's called. Really trying to get pieces in place for the rush of like stopping Klaus and killing Klaus.
Yeah, a lot happens in that episode.
Yeah, a lot with the witches too. So
we'll
get to that next one.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching and or listening to this one. Hope we see you next week. Bye.
Bye.